Hey guys, what's up? I'm Erin and welcome back to the channel. Getting that first $100,000 saved up and stashed away is one of the first really big major milestones people have on their investing journey. And getting that first $100,000 is critically important to really getting the ball rolling on your investments. In fact, billionaire Charlie Munger, vice chair of Berkshire Hathaway, bluntly put it like this: "It's a but you gotta do it. I don't care what you have to do. If it means walking everywhere and not eating anything that wasn't purchased with a coupon, find a way to get your hands on $100,000. After that, you can ease off the gas a little bit." That first $100,000 is hard, and I mean capital H-A-R-D hard. Starting from nothing and going to six figures takes discipline and commitment to a financial plan day in and day out for years on end. And quite honestly, most people don't have this level of commitment. Most people are more easily distracted by the luxuries of today rather than saving for tomorrow. You might be wondering, how many Americans actually have $100,000 or more saved up, not including their home value? Well, if we look across all adults, that number is just 14% of the population. Let's break it down by age bracket. Well, according to Go Banking Rates, here's how those numbers pan out. Understandably and predictably, as age increases, so too does that percentage of the population that has met or surpassed that $100,000 threshold. As you get older, you have more working and savings years under your belt. You've likely had a few raises, so it's probably just a bit easier to set aside money into savings. With more time, it's just easier to hit this goal. But still, even if we look at those numbers again, only 26% of those age 55 to 64 have $100,000 or more saved up. And that's an age range where a lot of people are starting to retire. Even those 65 and up, only 36% have met this mark. And I certainly don't want to trivialize the road to $100,000 because, like I said, it's hard to go from nothing to six figures. But I think the fact that such a small percentage of people actually reach this benchmark after an entire working career, it speaks more to an attitude about saving or not saving. Because if you just put away $25 a month, that's a little over $5 a week. Every single month for 45 years, you would have over $100,000. So that seems entirely feasible. But let's be honest, the goal for most is to get to that number quicker, especially those of you watching this channel. And if you're gonna aim to get there quicker, it's gonna take a heck of a lot more than $25 a month. Why is $100,000 so important? Especially when most of us have a target goal that is much higher than that. Maybe it's $500,000, maybe it's $1 million, maybe it's higher than that still. What's so special about $100,000? Well, first and foremost, there's a bit of psychology at play hitting this number as opposed to hitting, say, $90,000 or $98,000. Other than being just $10,000 more or $2,000 more, there's something about hitting a nice, clean, round number that makes it feel special to us. It makes it feel different, even if there isn't anything inherently special about it. It's the same reason so many people have a goal to hit $1 million rather than, say, $995,000. There's not a huge difference between those numbers. Sure, $5,000, but it's not gonna change your life. But hitting $1 million hits different in the same way that hitting 100,000 just hits different. And it has the extra cool factor that you can now walk around and tell yourself that you're a 100,000-aire. Did anyone else do that? I have a feeling it might have been just me. But let's look at that journey to $100,000 using an example. Let's say we have an individual named Bill, and he wants to hit $100,000 fast. So he's saving aggressively. Between his contributions and his employer contributions, he's putting away $10,000 a year. At that rate, it'll take him just 7 years to hit that $100,000 mark. Wildly impressive, but here's where the magic starts. Let's say he continues with that same contribution rate. He'll pass the $200,000 mark in just 5 years, $300,000 4 years after that. In another 3 years, $400,000. And in just 2 years' time, you probably guessed it, $500,000. Hitting that next $100,000 mark gets easier and easier and happens faster and faster. That's how wealth is built. That's the power of compounding. But you have to have that seed money in there before you really start to notice it. In the beginning, you have to do the grunt work building that nest egg until one day that nest egg reaches a threshold where it can simply focus on growing itself. I'm really excited to be partnering with Extra Wallets today. These are the wallets we've used in our household for ages now, and I know when I talked about it last month, a lot of you guys said you use them as well and that you love them, so that was really exciting. If you are primarily a credit card user, these are a wonderful wallet for you. First of all, they're beautiful, but you can feel the quality. The leather feels wonderful. They're a slim design. They come in loads of colors. Primary selling feature for me, RFID protection. I will not use a wallet that does not have RFID protection these days. I just don't feel like it's safe to go without. You can store a little bit of cash, your ID is easily accessible, and the sliding mechanism is as smooth as butter, which is not necessarily the case on previous wallets we've tried. My other favorite feature, and the reason I bought this wallet for my husband in the first place, tracking device. I know I've talked about it before, but this has made my marriage better because my husband has a tendency to lose his wallet, and with this, never again. So it syncs up with your phone. If you have a tendency to lose your wallet, never again. This thing is amazing. Right now, Extra is having their anniversary sale, and you can get up to 25% off if you use my link down below or the code AaronTalksMoney at checkout. If you give this a try, let me know. I know you'll love it, and it's a wallet that'll last you a lifetime. Let's do another example with our same employee, Bill, who was putting away that $10,000, and he was able to reach $100,000 in just 7 years. But that's a very aggressive savings rate. So let's say once he hits $100,000, he decides he has to back down his savings rate. Could be any number of reasons. Some phases of life, it's easier to save more. Other phases of life, you're faced with more expenses. So let's say he hits $100,000 and cuts his savings rate in half. Now he's only saving $5,000 a year. How long until he hits that next $100,000 mark? Well, in just 6 years' time, he would reach $200,000. In another 4 years, $300,000. And just a smidge over 3 years after that, he hits $400,000. 3 more years, $500,000. In our first example, it took Bill 14 years to go from $100,000 to $500,000. In the second example, it took 16. That's not a huge difference, especially when you consider that he cut his savings rate in half. But what it all hinges on is getting that first $100,000 put to work and invested. Once you do that, you can ease up a bit. What if it takes longer to hit $100,000? What if Bill could only save $5,000 every single year from the start? In that case, it would take him 12 years to hit the first $100,000, then 6 years to hit $200,000, 4 years to hit $300,000, 3 years to hit $400,000, and another 3 to hit $500,000. Hitting that $100,000 mark still makes his investments take off, even if it takes longer to get there. But you have to keep in mind, we only have so many working years, so that's why you want to try to hit this as soon as possible. The point of getting to $100,000 as quickly as possible has nothing to do with bragging rights. The point is to give your money a long runway, the longest runway you possibly can to let compounding work its magic. Because if you can hit $100,000 invested by the time you're 30, if you just put away $5,000 a year, every year, assuming you want to retire at 65, that money can grow to over $2 million. Hit $100,000 mark at 40, it could grow to $1 million. At 50, less than $500,000. Hitting that number early allows you to do less of the legwork when it comes to saving for your own financial freedom. It allows you to pass that burden on to compounding itself to do the heavy lifting. In the beginning, your contributions to your account's principal, that's the driving force in the growth of your portfolio. But it doesn't stay like that forever, and that's a good thing. With time, the interest earned on your portfolio ends up being the greatest driver of your portfolio's growth. And that's really the goal of investing, to create a portfolio that can fully sustain you and your lifestyle. How long would it take the average American to reach this first $100,000? Well, currently the median household income is just over $70,000, and the current savings rate is 4.6%. At that rate, it would take about 16 years to hit this mark. But we know from the stats, most Americans never hit this mark. I made a table showing how long it would take to hit $100,000 invested based on different investing dollar amounts, assuming an 8% rate of return. My hope is that this can help you gauge how long it might take you to hit this threshold. Just remember, the process gets much, much quicker after you surpass that first 100,000. So what are some things you can do to ensure that you hit this first $100,000? Budget. You have to track your spending, know exactly where your money is coming from and where it's going. Cut out any unnecessary spending so you can funnel as many of your dollars towards hitting this goal as quickly as you possibly can or as quickly as you wish to. Remember, this can be entirely temporary. You could save aggressively for a few years, hit this goal, and then ease off a bit. Get invested. You have to put this money to work. It can't be sitting in cash. The only way to grow your money is to invest it. I'm a huge fan of index funds. They're low cost. It allows you to keep more of your money working for you. And yes, it's been a rough and tumble few months for the stock market, but before long, this downturn will be just a small blip in the market's history. Because long term, the market goes up. Just stay invested for the long term and take solace in knowing there has never been a single 20-year period in the market's history where the returns have been negative. And if stocks are down today, they're just on sale. You're just getting a better price. And be patient. Remember, these first milestones are the hardest to hit. When it's 95% you doing the work and it feels like compounding interest hasn't even kicked in yet, just stick with it. Most people don't reach this goal because they don't stick with it. It takes persistence and dedication. Just hang in there. I'm curious, if you've hit this goal, the first $100,000, would you be willing to share how many years it took you to do that? If so, leave it in a comment down below. I think it can help others to know the process. I post new videos every single week. If you got anything at all out of this one, please give it a like. If you're new here, please consider subscribing, or if you know of someone who might get something out of this type of content, please consider sharing. I'll see you soon. Bye.